Hello, Adrian here from Jaskiran Astrology to tell you a little bit about what I see in this full moon in Scorpio chart. It seems to be a pretty intense chart, as you would imagine for Scorpio. Um, and also, I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day. I'm recording this on the 11th. Um, and yeah, it's a Happy Mother's Day. So let's get right into the chart. All right. Well, here we are. As you can see, um, let's see, let me get a little pen. We have the Sun and Neptune conjunct, and we have the Moon in opposition. So I think these two parts of the chart are very important. First, I want to say that when we have a full moon, it is an opposition between the sun and the moon. And 2 weeks ago, I talked about the new moon in Taurus. And Taurus is the energy, its basic energy is about survival. That's how we survive in these bodies on this planet. And that translates into a couple of different energies that are all related into what we need to survive. What are the things that we need? We need air, we need food, we need water, we need shelter, we need clothing. For example, that will translate into values, what we value in life. And we value most highly those things that we need. So you see Uranus there next to the sun. Uranus has been breaking apart our value structure. As this paradigm, the Pluto and Capricorn paradigm, and even larger, many, many cycles, this paradigm has been going on for a very long time. And as it dissolves and we begin this new one, we're going to have to break apart the values that we have, because the values that we have are linked to how we've been conditioned to live in this world. And that really leads to this moon in Scorpio. So the moon is how we see ourselves. It's how we feel secure within ourselves. It's yeah, our internal security. It's how we get along in the world. And in the sign of Scorpio, Scorpio is this hidden, deep emotions, because it's a water sign, these hidden emotions, these hidden emotional attachments that we have. I like to call it the shadow. These shadow parts of us are parts of us that have been submerged, pushed down into our subconscious, and from there they're not in our everyday awareness, but they are alive and well in there, and they are driving this subconscious behavior. And so our shadow behavior comes out through a couple of different ways, but projecting it onto other people because we don't see it in ourselves because it's been submerged, but we will create projections. I love the sign when you point your finger out to somebody else, there's three fingers pointing back at you, and that's the clue, but we don't see it that way. But what happens is in our culture, as I've been talking about, we come from this energy where we see ourselves as separate. We see ourselves as separate from each other. Our countries are separated. We have borders, all of these things that are created as or that have we perceive as ourselves from separate from nature. We don't live with nature anymore, which allows us to be able to harm it. But the reality is we're all part of nature. We, as human beings, are this energy that's between the spirit, the soul, and this earth. We're both. And we're animals, we eat food and poop out food just like all the other creatures that live on the planet. When we see ourselves as separate, and in the various cultures that have come along, come and gone, because that's what happens, they just come and go, and we're in the throes of one leaving and a new one coming in. What becomes valuable to each particular culture that comes on allows us, or it necessitates us, to submerge parts of ourselves that do not fit into the culture. And as a result, we have these feelings. It's like it gets to be pretty dark and ugly down in the shadow place. We tend to, it doesn't feel good down there, and we try to ignore it. So this brings around all these addictions that we have. We drink alcohol or smoke marijuana, or all kinds of even more intense suppression energies, overeating, sex all the time, anything to take our minds off of this uncomfortable feeling, because we're all pushing down parts of ourselves that were not acceptable in the societal norm. Let's flip back to Taurus for a moment, because we're talking about what it is that our society values. And if it doesn't value a part of who we are, we submerge it. And so Uranus has come along and breaking apart those values. And Mercury and the Sun have come into Taurus. The Sun is on its way out, but it's merging up with Uranus, where these new values are coming in, and our minds are aligned to this new set of values. To remember, all of these planets have been through Pisces and crossed Neptune here very recently, including the Sun and Mercury. I'm not speaking of Uranus, because it's been in Taurus for 7 years. But all these other planets have moved through, and what they're carrying with them, because as planets move through signs and cross other planets, they communicate with each other, and they drop off a little information and pick up a little information. And what's happening is we are picking up energy and consciousness from this Piscean energy. And the Piscean energy is the energy of oneness, wholeness. The Pisces is the whole of the energy field. This is the place where everything is birthed from and everything goes back to when its time is done. And so Neptune moving into Aries is really, I feel, bringing this Piscean energy, the energy of wholeness, into a new place. Really bringing it down to earth is how I see it. We're bringing this spiritual energy. And I want to talk just a little bit about the energy of Pisces, because, you get all kinds of energies when we're talking about the shadow side or the light side of Neptune. Sometimes it's like dissociation or delusion, illusion, and all of these things, and that is absolutely true. But it also has a lighter side, which is the energy that shows the wholeness of it, that we have compassion and universal love, and that we're, an increased awareness and forgiveness, because, we're human, we're all making mistakes, and we have to do this for ourselves and for other people. And so this is the energy that we are bringing in, that is coming into this next paradigm. So the Sun and Taurus have also, the Sun in Taurus and Mercury in Taurus have been through Pisces, and we've gained this new energy of I call it the spiritual energy, this new energy of love and compassion and forgiveness and acceptance for what is going on and for what we've all been through. And this is the energy of wholeness. Whereas the South Node, which is in Virgo, the opposite of wholeness is the separating of its parts. And this is what I'm talking about. We have our past sense of self, the South Node, our past identity is coming from a place of separation, where we have discerned all the whole into all these little pieces so that we can learn and understand our reality. But what's happened over time is that we begin to see ourselves through that lens, through everything is separate. And we all have experienced what happens when we see ourselves as separate. One thing, we start to measure ourselves against each other. Oh, I'm different than this person. And we create this hierarchy of things. We have kings and queens in the world, and we have, the lowest, poorest people in the world. And there's a big dichotomy, and we all have these feelings. There are values that are surrounding this energy. And so this is the energy of separation. We don't feel good enough about ourselves, or we feel too good. We're better than everybody else. I mean, we can go on either side of this energy of separation. But that's where we're coming from. And where we're going to, North Node and Pisces, is a being that is accepting of life and accepting of the wholeness and accepting of the oneness, accepting of each other. So back to values, because I think values are really important in this chart. Where Venus, which rules Taurus, is in Aries. We are experiencing different values that are more aligned with the Piscean energy. You see that Neptune and Venus are conjunct still in Aries, and sorry, I lost my train of thought. They're in Aries, and so we are exploring this new energy of determining what it is we value. As these old values are leaving, new values are coming in to the reality, to our reality. And we're discovering, what we like, what we don't like, how we value ourselves is really changing. And so I think it's important that we explore these new values, and we're going to be doing it through the whole journey of Venus through Aries. But as we are dissolving and breaking free of these old value systems, we have new values that are coming in. And with these new values, we are, at this point, the opposition between the sun and the moon, able to really shine the light on the values that the parts of ourselves that have been pushed down because they didn't fit into the value system of the old society. That's what I'm trying to say. And when we shine a light into the darkness, what happens? The dark becomes very, very light. And we bring these things to the surface and we heal them. And so that's what I see happening overall. Now, there's a couple of other things that are going on here. Pluto, the bottom line, is in Aquarius. We are all breaking free from the limitations that we've had in the way that the old paradigm was. So Pluto in Aquarius is about that breaking free and finding who our individuated self is. In other words, finding that self that is not created because of the culture that we left through. Remember, that culture had us suppressing parts of ourselves. And Pluto is trying to break that energy apart. Now, the way Pluto does its magic is to work from the opposite side. We call it the polarity point. And the polarity point is the goal of what Pluto is. And Pluto's polarity point is at 3 degrees Leo. Leo is essentially the energy of authentic behavior, authentic creation. It's self-actualizing who we actually are. And that's the goal. Mars is still conjunct with the polarity point of Pluto, and it's really focusing on integrating our hearts into this energy of who we are. We've been led, I think, in the past through this energy of the South Node, through Mercury, and because Mercury rules Virgo, and Mercury is now in Taurus, where we're looking at the shadow side and the lights, the shadow and the light side of Mercury, and in our consciousness, and trying to understand these values. And in the North Node, that it's Neptune, and it's like the whole self. And what we're doing, instead of being guided through our minds as to how to live and how to act and what we should value and all of these things, we're adding the journey of the heart, because the heart also has a mind. We are led by our heart. This is the desire nature. And both of them are equally important. And so right now we have Mercury squaring that. And this is, the symbol for Mercury is up here. And it's 2 lines. It looks like a Roman numeral number 2. And what that represents is there are 2 sides of Mercury. Mercury, we remember, is the god that can travel between the realms, the underworld. This is to the subconscious and the shadow part of us, and into the light. And if we only stay in the light, the shadow stays in the dark. And what we're doing is trying to bring the heart in. We're trying to bring in all the pieces, because we're working towards wholeness. And we're exploring what that means for us. So, as we try to create this wholeness, we realize that our minds and our values and what it is that we believe are very important to how we see the world and how we see ourselves. And all 3 of these planets, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, right now is squaring the nodes still, and will be exact shortly. But here we are looking at this expansion of our consciousness to really understand both sides of where we've been and where we're going, so that we can join these 2 things together and create wholeness. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, that is what I want to talk about. I don't really have anything else to say, except that I find that this is a very powerful and potent moon, because we are really able to dig up these unconscious emotions and bring them into light. And it's not a comfortable thing. I think that one of the ways that I've learned is to really find somebody that you can trust, that you can really just talk about these deep things, these parts of yourself that you hide, bring them out into the light. And this is how we embrace our shadow. And that is the goal. We need to embrace our shadow instead of keeping it submerged. So yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say about this chart. If you would like a more detailed analysis, I have a Substack account and I will place that into the comments below. And certainly subscribe and read my report. It's very detailed and will make what I'm trying to communicate a little bit clearer. And yeah, I want to thank you all for listening to me. And I hope you all have a wonderful Mother's Day and happy full moon in Scorpio. Let me take this down. Also, if anybody ever is interested in any kind of consultation with the chart, um, I do look at birth charts and can give you an analysis and help you figure things out. So reach out to me at my website, and that will also be in the comments below. Thanks again for listening.